Hi, dears. It's Katie, your lovely little lesbian. Today's video is going to be a bit different. I'm going to talk about a bit of personal things and also spoiling season 5 of She-Ra, as well as the finale of Revolutionary Girl Utena. She-Ra's the one I'm more concerned about. Utena's a bit of an older show. As it's pretty clear, I'm a lesbian, so I was really excited by the finale of She-Ra for more than a few reasons. I was born in the height of the AIDS epidemic. Growing up, being LGBT in any of its forms was not commonly spoken about with children. And like most children, I was absolutely obsessed with Disney films and Saturday morning cartoons. And the first one that I really latched onto around 8 or 10 was Sailor Moon. And I loved it. And in particular, I latched on to Sailor Neptune, Michiru. And Michiru, if you're unfamiliar with Sailor Moon, is the girlfriend of Sailor Uranus, Haruka. And in the English subs that I was watching, they were censored. So the two of them were presented as cousins, despite leaving in a lot of the flirtatious looks and a handful of really beautifully animated scenes where their hands interlock and entwine around each other. But the thing was, as a child, I wanted that. But because it had been censored to be cousins, I had this very strange idea that I was supposed to be closer with my family than I was. And it didn't occur to me, even though at the time I think I had a huge crush on one of my best friends, that women were permitted to be together. And while I did have friends coming out in middle and high school, I was always unsure of myself. I didn't see myself in the representation that was out there. And when I was in high school, I spent an entire summer watching Revolutionary Girl Utena, which is an older anime that riffs on the magical girls that She-Ra leans into, especially in that final season, in which a lot of the themes are of fighting against the roles and tropes that fantasized relationships put on young people. In particular, the two main characters, Anthy and Utena, it's a lot about them trying to save each other, Utena in particular trying to save Anthy. But one of the side characters is Juri, and she is presented as this golden girl. And she's always presented as very cool until you are introduced to her childhood friend, Shiori. And Juri and Shiori have a bit of the dynamic that we see in Catra and Adora during She-Ra, especially in the first and second season, in which Juri's this golden girl and Shiori is plagued by self-doubt and self-loathing to the point that she cannot see what Juri sees in her and simply strives to kind of shine above her, which is incredibly sad because throughout the series it's revealed that Juri is in love with Shiori, and it's very much the quintessential tragic pining lesbian story. As far as we know, when we leave them, Juri seems to have made peace with her attraction to Shiori and accepted that she and Shiori might be friends again and move forward, but there's no implication of a romance. A relationship we're more intimately associated with is Utena and Anthy, who are presented at the beginning as little more than roommates. And at the end of Utena, there is a scene that is almost frame for frame the final scene in She-Ra, where the character Anthy is curled in a dark place that she can't see her way out of, and the door begins to creep open, and Utena is reaching for her with these bloody hands and begging Anthy to take her hand. And Anthy finally does reach for her, and their fingers touch, and almost they can grab each other. But then we see Anthe slide away, screaming as she falls and cries out to Utena. And that is the last we will see of Utena in the entire series. And I remember watching this around 16 and thinking that while I saw myself in it, I didn't see myself happy. My options seemed to be loneliness, even though we know ultimately that Utena's affections do save Anthe. It leaves on a cliffhanger of, will they meet again? Because we don't get the opportunity to see it. We just have to hope. For me, that was always very poignant, but I genuinely did not see two women kiss on a screen until my very first date with another woman when we watched But I'm a Cheerleader. I remember feeling so sad, and it never occurred to me that yes, it was a comedy and the two women have the opportunity to be happy together by running away. It didn't stick with me in the way the end of Jury's arc, the end of Anthe and Utena's arc had. My partner and I have always been very enthusiastic. We try to watch anything with female leads as long as the writing seems good, and we were especially excited when they had first introduced Korra for the sequel to Avatar: The Last Airbender, because she seemed so delightfully full of herself, and we watched with so much anticipation. And when she does show up in the series and takes off her helmet, my heart fluttered, and in my heart of hearts, I hoped so much that she and Korra would end up in a relationship. So when they began to squabble over the firebender, whose name escapes me, so clearly he was important, I was so hurt. Not just because my hope felt dashed, but because it felt very disingenuous to these characters that I wanted to see them interact. I wanted to have hope, and I was reading them not as very straight characters. So the straight romance felt jarring, but the end of Korra couldn't draw me back in. For me, I was so tired of not quite reaching there, of my fingers grazing this idea that maybe representation could be had. And I felt it a bit when watching Steven Universe and hearing the song Stronger Than You. My partner and I used to play that and sing it to each other and dance around the kitchen. But for me, Steven Universe, it was tongue-in-cheek. It's the, yes, they're lesbians, but really they're rocks. And in going into She-Ra, I was not expecting it to be what it was. One of my very straight friends insisted we watch it, and the instant we got to see Catra and Adora interacting, we sort of joked. But I knew for me and my partner, it wasn't in hope. It was, oh, the fandom will eat this up, and oh, the creators might encourage the fandom. But I wasn't expecting to get more. When Spinnerella and Natasha first show up, I remember my partner nearly hitting me with excitement, going, oh my god, they're wearing each other's necklaces. And the hint, that kernel was exciting, but because they don't have big roles in the early seasons, we weren't sure if it was tokenism. And as it goes on, and you see Natasha and Spinnerella calling each other darling and love, and how cute they are together, I felt a lot of hope. And I was very excited when we see Glimmer treating Bo and Adora in the same way. You could very easily read her as having crushes on both of them. And with Scorpia, there's no question at all that she is attracted to Catra. So while we sat there enjoying, I really didn't take an interest in Catra and Adora aside from as friends, because I felt that if I hoped for it, I would not get it. As we rolled into season 5, with 4 having them barely spoken, I wondered if, as an LGBT community and representation, we had hit our quota. So I wanted to see Catra have a redemption arc. And I hoped that one of the best friend squads would be revealed as being queer. And my hopes were actually on Glimmer, because that seemed like a possibility. It didn't seem like I would have that for Adora or Catra. As the season wears on and as they get to the episode Save the Cat, I was reminded of Utna in the scene where Catra is draped across Adora's arm. But I thought in that moment that we had lost Catra, that I was not going to get the happy ending that I wanted, and this lovely redemption arc, which absolutely surprised me. I was enjoying the redemption arc for what it was, without reading into any of the subtext as I normally would, because hoping hurts. For me, I didn't realize that we might actually get the ending that I had always wanted until Catra is pinned by Milog, and
Adora doesn't want me! Not like I want her.
I remember that feeling as a young woman trying to come out, trying to find my place, trying to find someone who would love me as I was. And it was so very heartbreaking for me in one of the best ways possible. That was the first time I hoped something would happen. I felt very much with Adora when she dreams of that future, a future that I as a young girl wouldn't have been able to imagine for myself, of being with the woman I loved and being with my friends and being happy. It wasn't a future that had ever been presented to me, and when it was taken away by Horde Prime, it felt like such a gut punch. And as we see that scene progress and Adora is trapped in this dark place, the imagery of that scene played back into the ending of Utna. I was 16 again, sitting in my friend's basement and crying for them to take hold of each other and to hold on. And they did. Not only did they hold on, but the entire culmination of this series ended with 2 women telling each other they loved each other and kissing. It was a kiss like at the end of Beauty and the Beast, where music swelled and the crusty little edges of my heart just completely fell away, because it was an important message to younger audiences that they matter, their happiness matters, that love is what you make of it. And I'm now getting to live in a future that, as a young person, I wouldn't have been able to see for myself. And being able to see yourself in media, being able to have one of my favorite animation studios represent in such a positive and affirming way, and in a way that so very much saw a very lonely young girl and told her that things were going to get better, that there was a future to live and strive for. It not only brings them hope, but it reminds them that they matter. I'm so happy that this is something that I got to see in my life. I want to thank all of you for your patience, and as always, take care of yourselves, love each other, and be safe. Remember, you matter.
You love me. You're such an idiot. I love you too.